There is power in the name of Jesus.
The church that God attended. And our subtopic will be getting our house in order.
Amen.
Getting our house in order. You know, I want you guys to just kind of take a trip with me back a few years ago or a few decades ago when you first gave your life over to Christ and you wanted to let everybody know how excited you were about this new transition that you made in your life. You wanted to go out and tell everybody about God. You wanted to tell everybody about the church you were attending. You couldn't wait to get there on Sunday. Man, I tell you, you pull up in the parking lot. You can sense the worship of the church. You know, you can hear the music playing. Everything is just right. You get into the church and you turn away. And wait a minute, with all this excitement, all these great things, I had told everybody about how good God is, and I get to the church and I get turned away. And you wonder, what in the world, what's going on now? You're called names, pushed to the side, you're non-existent to some extent. How can this be the case? How can we as Christians somehow, in some way, not be welcome in the church? The reality is, it's just that way sometimes in the church. Even if you don't speak it, some of our actions, they show up in that way. You know, the church has become one of the most divided places in the country on Sundays. You know, you look at it from our perspective, the white church, the white people normally go to a white church. The black church, black people normally meet and they go to a black church. And this is where they say they feel more comfortable. Other churches, you become alienated or separated because of your income status. There are churches that will separate the church because of income status. They want to know what your income level is, and you'll be allowed to sit in this section. You got other churches, if you don't have the nice car, you don't have the nice, clothes, you'll be, pushed to the side. Hey man, look, we want, our church to look a certain way. You think about our choir is better than your choir. Our choir, they sang this week, they did all this, and they talk about how their pastor is the great anointed bishop, as if God only gave out one anointing, so we go through all these different things, and we go and we wonder why sometimes the body is so separated, because we create these things in our own mind just to be different from everybody. You think about it, this is supposed to be a place we ought to come together no matter what our background is or what's going on in our life. We should be in a place where we should be comfortable in the house of God, but sometimes we make it uncomfortable. That's why I wanted to have a church that not caught up in some of the things that's going on, not get in the midst of what folks is wearing, or what their background is, what they drive, and all these kind of things. We were going to be a church that says, man, whatever condition you are, whatever shape you're in, whatever's going on in your life, you are welcome here. And that's the way it should be. And Paul is really trying to emphasize that as we try to get into these weeks. Don't take me down too far, brother. He says, we look at the weeks, this week's text, the same thing is going on in the church. The Jews had made up in their minds they were more worthy than everyone else. And everyone else was separated because they weren't called according to God's people. They had chosen themselves to be a group that was going to be separate from everybody else because they knew the scriptures. They were God's chosen people, and they understood that they were now separating themselves. Everybody else was considered Gentiles. And you think about that, in a place we come to worship, and there's separation within the church. How could this be? I came, I gave myself over to Christ. I was trying to do the best that I could, yet here I am ostracized because of these crossroads that I've gotten myself into, and now Paul's trying to rebuke those things, saying these things are not important. It's time for the church to come together as God created in the first place. And we got to understand, through this process, we got to understand that God is a God of reconciliation. God is our reconciler. He says, come back into the church, no matter what your condition is, what's going on, how long you've been away, whatever's going on. Just make sure that you're in the place of God, doing the things of God, and he will then fix those things. Paul reminds us at one point We were outsiders. You think about it, when before we were in church, we were those people. You know you wouldn't go around church folk, you wouldn't be involved with certain different things because we were out there doing our own thing, wasn't we? Well, I tell you, we ran them streets till they couldn't be ran no more. And the thing about it was, Sunday, man, that was my day of rest. Man, I had to stay. The ball game was coming on, all these different things going on, and I was not consumed with going to nobody's church. I make fun of people that was going to church and everything, but now I look at it from that side. I was once one of those people that were lost, walking around, didn't have a hope. Folk talking about me, putting me down, and all these type of things. I was scared of church folk. I mean, to be honest, I didn't want to be around some of them folk because they always used to tell me how bad I was, and they would tell me through the scriptures. I think, man, I never want to be a part of something like that. And but you got to think about, we were all there at some point. We ran the streets. We had no knowledge of Christ. But look at you now. We were Gentiles at the same point. Our spiritual lives were lost. We had no navigation, system. Boy, they couldn't find us. But God had a way of turning your situation around, didn't he? And Paul's telling him, he said, don't treat them like that because everybody came from somewhere. And we understand that one thing, man, we were all messed up. But just thank God that we got here. Coming over these thresholds, every year we celebrate our birthdays. We celebrate different milestones that happen in our life. Everybody don't get the opportunity to celebrate those things. You got to thank God that you were able to get here. So don't put folk down for what's going on in their lives. But they were lost, and they were on their own little world. A dysfunction, destruction that God was putting a plan together for the lost. Even in the midst of their trying to ostracize people, put people down, God was still putting a plan together in this church of Ephesus because they understand they were the cornerstones of what God was trying to build, and it was important that nobody be pushed aside. Nobody. Christ does 4 things, and he brings it together as one. And we need to understand that we're here as one body, as one collective unit. Christ brings love for all that come to receive love. And you think about it in church now, we need to be in a place where people feel love. No matter what's going on, what type of mistakes we made, we need to feel God's love in the midst of everything that's going on. And we don't understand what God's love is. We get lost in transition easy. We throw around love all the time, like it's a great thing. But sometimes there's no meaning behind it. We're just saying words. So folks need to understand, man, I truly do love you. I really do truly understand what you're going through. And I'm here with you and understand we're going to go through this thing together. God comes, he wipes away the laws and the judgments against us. He said, I get away from all those ceremonial things that were put in place to keep you away from me. You think about how church is being so spiritual sometimes, they miss us all together. You got to be this. You got to be at this certain level. You got to go, be at church so many weeks, and we're going to make you this, and we're going to do it. You got to speak in tongues. You got to do all these different things. He said, man, I tore down all these different things. All the judgments against you and all the different things that are coming against you to make you feel like you don't belong. Yeah. He said those days are over for you. I know it's a challenge sometimes coming into church because all the different things that have come up against us. But God says those things are over. We don't need to be going through that stuff no more. But he said he brings us a peace. And this new man is called Christ. He brings the whole body together with no stipulations. Imagine that. I can come to him. I can give my life over to Christ, and there are no strings attached. Imagine that. You can't go to too many places in your whole world, and you can't get a job without them checking your background. You can't. We was talking about it earlier. You go get a car, they want to know how you pay your bills. You go get a house, they want to know, what your credit score is. All these different things. There's strings attached to everything, but Christ, he said, there's no strings attached. Don't worry about none of that kind of stuff. I don't care what kind of baggage you bring in here. I don't care if you're not paying your bills. The only thing I'm concerned about is you and being in a relationship with you. There was a story, it was an old church, old splinter church, and they came in and they put these big old gold letters up on the side of the church, right? And it said, and the letter said, Jesus only. You know, they were so proud of that. They Jesus only. And a couple of days later, a big gust of wind came, and the JES was gone. And it said us only. And too often, this is the case in the church. We start off with good intention. That's right, but end up being exposed. Yeah. We start out with good intention, but we end up being exposed. But the thing about this, we understand the second element is we got to come back together. We got to learn to start coming back together. He starts talking about that in verse 14 through 14 through 16. He's talking about we need to start coming back together. That's some of the hardest things we have to do because, you know, world sometimes gets us in the way. We got so many different things going on in our life. It's hard for us to concentrate on God. This is the one time on Sunday. Man, it's my time of rest. I got this. I got going. I've been working. I've been doing all these different things. But he said, today is my day. We got to start coming back together. Go out for those who are lost and bring those back in. But how many of us trying to find peace in some way in our life? How many of us are really struggling with just trying to find peace in our life? And some of the time we can't find that peace because our spirit is unrest. We need to be in a place where God is constantly feeding us, constantly challenging us, constantly growing us, and get us to that place. Get us through those storms. You know, a lot of people try to go through those storms and they got those self-medications they're going to try and all this different things. And you notice it gets worse and worse and worse. And then when they come back to the church, oh man, this is where I should have been the whole time. But you got all this spiritual background. You got all these scriptures you quote to everybody else's situation. But you were the one that's sitting back, supposed to be the leader. And now you're the one that's falling apart. Now look at that. How in the world are you the one falling apart? You told me about how good God is. Now you're supposed to be my representative now. Now I'm looking at you, you falling all apart. Coming back together, finding that peace. We gain a deeper sense of peace when we realize he gives us daily power to overcome the weight of our troubles. When I understand what I'm going through and God gives me the power that I need to come through the situation that I come through, I can go through these things a little better, a little faster, and I gain strength. Every time the enemy comes up against me, I understand where it's coming from now. But I understand God gives me the power that I need to overcome. They may come against me, they may talk about me, and all these different things coming up. I may be losing some things, but I still got God's power. And that can never be taken away from me. God calls everyone now to come up to the same footing, starting this procession to come together as one body. We can't continue to be separate entities and think we can be successful. We need to be one entity that's driving toward Christ the way he wanted it to be. We can't think we can get there separately. That's right. We live in a world that points to that. You know, we're individuals. We want to be individuals. We go get cars and we put our license plate. We want to put our names on. We want folk to know who we are and all this type of stuff. We get tattoos and all this stuff. We want to be identified as individuals. But God said that's not the way I intended it. We ought to be one body. He said that's where you used to be. That's not what we are now. Because when we continue to be individuals, that's exactly what we'll be going forward. And that's what makes it harder for us to come together when we don't understand that we get there together. And when we come to a point of judgment, we're all standing together. We all stand there together. And the thing about it is, if we don't start practicing these things on this side, we'll be disjointed and moving forward, not being able to bring it back together because we don't practice those things. The body has been separated, torn apart. We turn one against the other. Now it's time to come back together because of the force of Christ that's within us. We've been torn apart by family hurts or whatever situations may be. But God said it's time to put all that stuff away. It's time to come back together. A lot of times we look at people and come into the church and they look different sometimes, don't they? You know, tattoos or they got earrings or something. We look at them and how in the world did you get like that? There's a median part of judgment that's attached to them, isn't it? That's right. But God says that makes no difference in my mind. Not at all. Because we all got some flaw that we would like to hide. that we did back in the world. We all got something that we got something we need to put away. But God says, man, don't worry about that stuff. Christ is now torn down those barriers that separate us. A lot of times we think about some of those barriers that separate us has kept us from church forever. We talk about church hurt. We talk about some of the things that happened for us long time ago. We're still suffering for some of those things, aren't we? You know, you think about it, that pastor that did you wrong, that choir member that didn't let you sing lead, or some of the things that was going on. We still harbor some of those things. And said, Christ said, man, through my power, man, get rid of that stuff. You know, families are torn apart, different things are going on. God says, I don't have time for that stuff. He's calling this fractured body to now come back as one. We're stronger as one body, opposed to the separate pieces that we leave out to be. We want to be separate. We want to be individuals. We want to be in that place where we're celebrated for who we are. But I'm more concerned about being a Christian than I'm anything else. And sometimes, you know, in our daily life, it's hard to, you know, wear that all the time. You know, folks say something crazy to you, you want to jump outside of yourself. But you got to remember, there's always a little nudge that says, you're still a Christian and you represent me. So if you go out there and clown and all that, there should be a nudge that tells you, no, that was wrong. That was wrong. Come back and get it together. But the good thing about God is, he allows us to come back.
That's right.
But where are you in your spiritual walk when somebody come up against you? Baby daddy acting a fool, wife, you know, acting a fool. Where we at? Co-workers come up against you, want to talk crazy to them. Where we at is that? Do they see Christ inside of us? Or do they see us? Nay. You know, some of these other folk that we used to be when we run the street. Who do they see when they come up against us? You know, we got to realize that Jews and Gentiles are now called to come together as one people, no longer as two. That's the hardest thing for us to grab hold of, because we as Christians sometimes we want to keep that our Christ to ourselves. You don't deserve the God that I got. And think about it, God said, they deserve it just as much as you. And that's as God, and Paul reminds us in the beginning, he said, you were that same person. It's time for us to come together, getting away from all the foolishness that kept us separated, getting away from all the different things, you know, that kept us from him. It's now time for us to come together, joining in Christ, doing the things we need to do. He said, now by joining the body, why we gain access to Christ in a way that's never been given us to before. Access means to be present, but as a church, we got to come together. It's a time for us to come together. We try to move into this new place. It's time for us to come together and go into this place that God has blessed us with the spiritual warfare that we got to fight, but also be ready to receive what God's about to give us in this new place. It's more than just separating us from this place and going to another building. It is understanding what God had already orchestrated for us to go across that street and understand what God has already put together for us. Our eyes have not seen what God is about to do into that new place. And you know, we walk in there collectively together, understanding that God sent us here. And ain't nothing gonna separate us from that. Right? Amen. We're joining as a body. We got this access now. But the Jews taught, because they knew the scriptures, they were fine. The Gentiles were too far away to know Jesus. And Jesus said, man, those walls have been torn down. That stuff is over with. Don't treat them like that. You know, we think about this time of year, you know, it's at you know, our family reunions. Things about to come together, right? Our families, and some of you dread family reunions. We get the t-shirts, we come together as a family, we laugh, we play games, and you know, too often though, you know, after the reunion weekend, we go back to our own separate parts of the country, never to see each other again until the next reunion. And think about it, our church is the same way. We come collectively together for some earth-shaking moment, and then we go right back to our same parts of our world, never to come back together again. And that's not the way it should be. Our Sunday should be a reunion every week. Every week is our family reunion once again. So we come in with our t-shirts. We come in excited. We come in waiting to see one another. We come in waiting to see that new hairstyle you got, girl. All those different things we got going on, because we understand this is our reunion every week. And God is the orator of everything that's going on. But then the last thing he leaves us with, we got to grab on to our own identity. He said we're no longer strangers to one another in the body. And you think about it, some people, never meet a stranger. I know James is one of those people. He sees people, he engages people, engaging, talking, tell them about what he's doing and all these type of things. But that's how we need to be as a body. Always engage in somebody we don't know. It's not about bringing them to the church. It's not about doing anything. Understanding what Christ has given us, we want to give them that same thing. And as we give those things, they will start to follow us into that place. But we got to show them something. But as a body of believers, we are no longer separated by the body, inside the body. The enemy has tricked us too long, and we got to take it back. And there's no situation that puts us in a place where we're separate from anybody else. We may have driven up in different cars. We may live in different sides of city and all these different things, but we all bear one thing. We all bear the cross, and we all there under the unction of what God has given us. There's no separation in the body no more. He said we got to be as connected as our families are. Some of our families are connected and crazy. But the thing about it is that one thing that keeps us connected is what? Our name. Our name. And the same thing that keeps us connected in the body is our name is what? Christian. So it don't make no difference where we are, how we act, whatever the thing is, but it is, we are connected because we are Christians. You may bear Johnson as your last name or some of those different things. And somebody say, man, I saw your cousin over there. Man. What did he say? What did he do? Ain't that our reaction sometimes? What some of them crazy cousins or the family members we got? But the thing about it is, Christ said, we all in here together. Yeah, baby, may be a little crazy, can't keep himself out of jail. But the thing about it is, we still have to be that body that stays together. But we are the building blocks that God is establishing in the city. And it's time to embrace that change. The church is now growing. It's a growing organism now. And he said in the text, we are now the cornerstones of what Christ is doing. The church must bring more stones into the church and start fitting those stones together and start building a foundation that Christ is in the midst of. He holds the stones together. Only thing your job is to bring them into the church and let those stones now be put together in a place where God needs them. Think about it. As we move on not only to this place, but to the next place, we need those cornerstones put together because everybody can't be at this place. Everybody can't be the usher. Everybody can't be this. Somebody and everybody has to play their own part, right? One by one, brick by brick, he plants it, and it's about to start growing. And as you start building that foundation, it starts to grow because Christ is now in the midst of it. The church is being a place where you can come when you're in trouble, where you can come and find refuge. You can come where it's spirited, joyful, a place of healing. God said it's time to put us back into the place where we ordained it to be, not separate, falling apart, structurally challenged. We're talking about a church that understands about it. Don't matter how many people you got. You understand the God is in the midst of everything that's going on. My God is the same God you worship. We just don't worship him in the same place.
That's right.
I get what I need here, but I understand there's one thing. We still serving one God. You can be in there with 10,000 people. Call a meeting, you're still going to have 200. The thing of it is, we still serving one God. The church, stability lies in each person being in place, but not only in place, but in the right place. And Jesus is the one that puts it all together. He said, your job, bring them. And I'll put the stones together where they need to be. And watch and see, I'll bring out that anointing in them. I'll bring out that calling they got on their life. Your job was to get the stone here. And I'll place the stone exactly where it needs to be. Don't ever get discouraged when folk don't come when you invite them. You've already planted the seed.
That's right.
You just got to keep living a life in front of them and say this.
That's right.
You still welcome. You still welcome. And watch and see what's going to happen. And when we understand these things, we grow as a people. But I'm going to leave you with this. How many of us would hire a contractor to build our dream home, and he comes in, he starts building your home with no blueprints. He don't follow the instructions. You look down, the wires are where the plumbing was supposed to be. The windows are not right. The driveway is not level. And all these stuff. Who in the world would hire a contractor like that? And unlike this type of contractor, God would never build something without a blueprint built in place already. God's blueprint has already been put in place. He said the alignment has already been taken care of. The foundation has already been put together. The lights are going to hang just where you wanted them to be. The music is going to play right on cue. You're not going to turn on your garbage disposal and your garage door opens. It's not going to be like that in my house. I'm going to construct this thing the way I intended for it to be constructed. And it's going to be just right. And that's what he talks about. When we talk about getting our house in order, we're getting our spiritual lives in order. And God will do the rest. He's the one behind the scenes, putting every nail and every board. He's putting the glue down. He's tacking everything down. So when it comes to that place, we come into the house of worship, it's all put together. But beyond that, the body is put together as well, just like he intended. You look at your cousin who ain't never been to church before, your auntie's still out there in them streets running and all this kind of stuff. When it all comes back together, it's going to be beautiful because God is slowly putting it together, one stone at a time. And as we move forward, we got to understand this one thing. God is with Third Dimension Worship Church. We've been putting it together one stone at a time. And he's going to put it all together in the landscape. He just now just put down the fertilizer. The grass ain't start growing yet.
Right.
But he's planted something. And you got to understand, what he's planted, it can't be torn up.
Right.
Only thing you got to do is maintain it. Do a little weed and feed every now and then. Make sure it's cut and trimmed. But it'll come back each week, steadily growing, because he's already planted the seed. Amen? Amen? Today is your day. If you don't understand what God is doing in your life and the foundation that he's created, today is your day to find that.
Thank you for watching. Please come join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. We are located at 40 West 40th Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46208. We are located inside of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center. Remember to stay connected and subscribe to our YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and website. Thank you and have a blessed week. God bless.